Okay, I'm ready to start. Yeah, you work very hard to get baptized, and then you get disfellowshipped, but it just doesn't happen just instantly. I remember when I was working hard to get baptized. I wanted to make sure I had good association in my life. And so the ministerial servant that was studying with me, they keep studying with you even after you get baptized. They study with you like another book or so. It's like they're squeezing the system for time and studies. That's what I think. Like, it's not like I needed another book to study. I was already had 3 or 4 of my own Bible studies by then. And I was studying with them in the books, the Live Forever book anyways. And then they had that other book that you'd study with your Bible studies once they were baptized. And then you learn the deeper things of God. It was quite complicated, that book. But the Live Forever book seemed simple to me. It was a simple enough book for me to present because it was all pictures. And at that time, people loved pictures. And I know that's back in the 80s. Like now, it's videos. People don't read books anymore. People watch videos. People watch TV. People do not read as much. But back then, it was all about books and pictures in the books. So they made the books colored, hardbound volume, hardbound, nice books, the Live Forever book. And I actually was first introduced by my first the ExJw, the Jehovah's Witnesses in that other area. That when I had the blue car, they used the Truth Book. That's what they used back then. That was in probably 1980. But then they soon went to the Live Forever book. So it's like I had to do the Truth Book and then I had to do the Live Forever book because it was the latest one that came out. I think it was just they wanted more time studying with you. And so they'd pull you into other books and then you'd have to go not only to all these meetings, and there was more meetings a week back then. And you not only go to all these meetings, and you had to put in more time, field service time. If you wanted to be exemplary, it was like 15 hours a month. Now that's pioneering. Then pioneering was 90 hours a month. But it was slower, like everything was different than it is today. It wasn't as chaotic. Time went slower. It was, we'd go out and play baseball with the congregation, things like that. So it was quite a bit different. And then in the evenings, we would get together and play cards and drink beer. Most Jehovah's Witnesses would do that. And what they were famous for is going camping, and they liked to go camping. And this happened later on when we got married and had families. But at any rate, at this point in time, I was studying, and the ministerial servant that I was studying with, his sister had a shining toward me. I found out later she had a shining toward a lot of guys. Even the guy at the fire hall who wasn't a JW. So anyways, I found that out later. But she had a shining toward me. I thought we were an item. I thought we were something. And then, and this is the elder's daughter, right? The ministerial servant's sister. So then, my friend, from that area that I grew up, went to high school with, he drank a lot and didn't know he's a JW, but then I found out he was. Well, he'd come down and visit. Came down for my baptism. Next thing I know, he's staying with me in my apartment. I go out to the back of my apartment. He's in his car, necking with I thought, who was my girlfriend. This is the second time. The second time this guy has done this to me. The first time was in high school. I give him a break. He was kind of loose around the edges. He wasn't sure. But now he cleaned his act up. He's supposedly doing everything right. He's my friend. His dad's an elder. So he's necking, and I said, that's it. I'm done. Go home. Get out. I was really, really upset. And I was upset at him for quite some time. And then he came down. Well, he came down for my baptism is when it was. And this happened before my baptism, but and then finally, the ministerial servant that was studying with me said, "Well, you got to kind of forgive him, you know," and so I did, and we became friends again. So it wasn't the same, you know. That's the second time, you know. Fool me once, but fool me twice. Shame on me. You know, that's kind of how I felt back then. I should have known better. And so he ended up moving away up north, and then I did my own life here and developed my own friends and kind of just on my own. And the guy that was studying with me kind of mentored me along. Then one day, into the congregation comes Sister, frequently attending. You know, we have people in the congregation that don't attend all the time. Well, this is a family where there's an unbelieving mate. Well, he was believing at one time, but then he liked smoking, so he quit believing and faded away. And he's the smartest guy. He woke up first. I always think back to that. But he was the smartest guy. He woke up first, and he faded out, but he still could associate with everyone. So it was working. So his wife would attend the odd meeting, and, you know, she'd go to the assemblies and stuff like that. And then one day, her sister was running away. They came from a family that had a lot of issues, and her sister ran away. You know, and these are second generation families. You know, their grandparents went to Ohio to see Rutherford, so these are second, third generations, and her sister shows up with her, and, you know, so her sister comes, a runaway, right? Problems. Camping out at her sister's place, and her sister think, oh, I better start going to the meeting. So all of a sudden, they show up at the book study. I did not even know these people were in our book study. You know, in them days, the book studies were held in people's homes. So, excuse me. So a lot of, you know, 10, 12 people, 15 people max kind of a thing. 20 if it's really cramped, I guess. But usually they keep the groups smaller. And in comes this lady, this sister, with her sister. And her sister was single. And, you know, it's kind of, you know, how you look across the room and you check everyone out. That's kind of how young people do it. That's how people do it in general. People are like that. And so anyways, you know, it's not like I did anything or said anything or pursued anything. It's not like that. It's not how it is in the Jehovah's Witness environment. So everyone goes to the meetings, weeks on ends goes by, and over time, you know, Brother Pioneer comes and, hey, let's all go play soccer today. So Sunday afternoon, we all go play soccer. Well, guess what? The runaway sister's playing soccer, you know. With all, you know, it's guys and girls, it's co-ed, so everyone's there having fun. And I get on, she gets on my team, or however that works, and one thing leads to another, and there's an infatuation. And the next thing you know, you have others, ooh, you know, and this is what kids do, really. You know, we're just all kids. So the infatuation leads to kind of a little bit of a dating. I would pop over to the house, visit with the family, have biscuits and tea. Her sister would make them. Always chaperoned, always people there. And then one night it got weird. I don't know. She was crying. Again, a runaway, family problems. I don't know what the issues were, but I was called up, and I went over there at night, and well, I come to the door, and her sister's not home. No one's home. It's just her. I'm a little nervous to go in, so I kind of visited at the door. I think that time I just kind of stepped in and gave her a hug and said, you know, don't worry about it, and then I left. And, you know, so weeks go on and you get to know people and blah, blah, blah. And you're never supposed to really do that. You know, as a brother, you're not supposed to do that, because without a chaperone, you know what could happen. So anyways, There was another sister in the congregation, and it's just another sister, nice lady, I guess. But I was not attracted to her at all. Not at all. Like, zilch. And, I come out, the doorbell rings, and there's a pie on my doorstep, a pie. So I grabbed the pie, bring it in, and there's a little note, and it's from this sister, and she didn't even hand it to me. She just, wanted to give me a pie, I guess. So it was a good pie. She was a good cook. But I still was not interested. I wasn't interested in this sister. You know how it is. Some people you're interested in, if you're choosing a marriage partner, it has to be natural, right? And so I remember, I went over to that Sister Runaway's house a couple of times, and this other sister who gave me the pie, we'll call her Sister Pie, she got her brother-in-law, which is Brother Righteous, Brother Super Righteous, and they started following me around at night, following me over to that house. Well, it was always her sister-in-law was there, and they would do drive-bys and circle. And so then they drove up one night. Sister Runaway was upset again, so I go over there and I step inside, and now it's all kind of getting normal. And I noticed that they're out there stalking me, and I didn't want to go out there. Her sister wasn't home, her brother-in-law wasn't home, no one was home, just her and me. Now I'm inside. So I got further inside. We're kind of hiding out, waiting for them to go, peeking out the window, waiting for them to go, but they weren't going. I spent the night there. And you see, hindsight to all those stalkers out there that stalk people like that, had they not been stalking me, I wouldn't have spent the night there. I wouldn't have had to even been concerned. But I was put in a situation, and this is the problem with the JW religion. They get involved too much in this stuff. Let young people do what young people are going to do. And in that case, I was just going over to console a friend who was alone and needed some help at that point. And I think I would have left, because there would have been nothing pushing me inside the door. Well, to say the least, the very next day I had to go and see Brother Elder and tell him what happened. And he laughed and he laughed. Yeah, he was the brother that baptized me, and I got a few questions wrong, right at the beginning. Who was the woman, who caused enmity between the seed and the seed? Well, the woman is supposedly Christ's bride, right? The 144,000, which is the anointed. But I said the woman was Mary. I thought it was Mary. Made sense to me. Got that one wrong, but they baptized me anyways. You can get baptized and get questions wrong, and he was a cool brother. I liked him. And I went and seen him, and I had no issue seeing him, because he just laid it down. He was one of those matter-of-fact guys, and he'd laugh about things too. But everyone thought he was the strictest guy. I didn't. I went and seen him, and he knew of the Sister Pie, and he says, "So Sister Pie's not doing it for you?" And he laughs, and I said, "No, they're stalking me. Like, why are they stalking me?" And I explained it to him. And so anyways, he gave me a warning, and he said, "Don't do it again." And of course, once you go that far and have relations, you can't say don't do it again. It's going to happen again and again and again. So it didn't happen again and again and again. We worked very hard at it. It didn't happen. Here's the problem. We did want to get married eventually, but she was not baptized. She was what they called an unbaptized publisher. So she was an unbaptized publisher, wasn't baptized yet. We wanted to get engaged, but they said we couldn't. You talk to all the elders are telling you what you can and can't do. And that's the way it is in the religion. You get managed. Retrospects, looking back, you really get managed heavily. So in this case, she moved. We put distance between us. She moved to another town. I would have had to drive a good 3-4 hours. That's just not a drive you're going to make without making arrangements and so on and so forth. So she moved. And I was here, and so she was working on getting baptized. Well, as soon as you tell the elders and they get to know, and when you move, a letter comes from this body of elder and goes to that body of elders. So this body of elders said in a letter, oh, she just wants to get baptized to marry him. And we're hoping this will all dissipate. That's what they were hoping, right? And why would elders come up and say, well, you shouldn't, you don't marry her? People are people. If I want to marry someone, that's kind of my prerogative. So they were treating an unbaptized publisher the same as a baptized publisher, because she also got disfellowshipped with me. So what happened is we put the distance between us, and we spent a year for her trying to get baptized. They wouldn't baptize her in the second congregation because they felt it was for the wrong reason, and time will only tell. Well, that's not how you deal with young people. That's like bullying and forcing people into a situation. So what happened? It forced us to have relations again. We wanted to get married. And so eventually we had relations again. We did get disfellowshipped. And how did we get married? Well, I actually made my own wedding. And I thought, this is enough BS. I actually wrote my own wedding vows, and I brought in a commissioner of oath. We had it in my grandma's house, worldly, and good thing I had some worldly people. And I think only her parents attended. None of her family attended. And because her dad was a worldly. Her dad wasn't even a JW. So her parents attended my grandma's house. And that was it. My family, there was like 30 of us, and we looked, and there was 2 of them. And it was a little weird for my family. Me here, I took on this religion, married into this religion, and I couldn't even get married in the church. And this is how my dad looked at it. He was disgusted. He didn't like Jehovah's Witnesses to begin with. But here I thought, well, I'm going to do things the right way. I'll write my own wedding talk. And I put Jehovah in there and blah, blah, blah. And, the commissioner of oath actually read my wedding talk, just like we were at a wedding. And we got married. So that's kind of how it was. Again, so then we're married, and we're sitting in a little condominium. It was army barracks that we rented. That's all we could afford. And we're wondering, okay, what's next? Now, I wanted to quit the religion in the worst way. And I thought, this is just nonsense. It's, you get no support. And they push you, they bully you. It's a bullying method. In fact, one of the elders said to one of my friends that as long as he's an elder, I would never, ever be used as a ministerial servant or an elder. And he's right. It was like that in his congregation. Now, I moved, and I did get used as a ministerial servant later on. But as long as I was in that congregation, if an elder has a hate on for you, you're not going anywhere, because the elders have to be unanimous, and elders believe that they are actually in the right hand of Jesus in heaven, and that they're the 5 stars or whatever it is, 7 stars, 5 stars, but the stars in Jesus' hand. The elders believe that they are specially appointed, and that they're appointed by God himself, Jehovah. That's what they believe. So they believe it's a heavenly appointment, and when you have one elder that feels strongly about a person, all the other elders are going to listen. And now they're in this elders meeting, and that issue's raised, it becomes a glaring obstacle. So when they look at the flock and they see this brother, they see me, I start to glare in a negative way to all the elders. It's actually bad publicity for them to do that. But that's what happens. And it goes outside of that. Like in this case, this elder told my friend, who was a ministerial servant, not the one that was studying with me, but another friend. And he came to me and said, you'll never, ever serve in this congregation as long as he's an elder. And that's the way it was until I moved. So I'll leave it at that. I was disfellowshipped. I was newly married. And now I had to make a decision. What am I going to do next? I wanted to quit. I'm married, so that was my vote. Let's quit. Let's just carry on. And if you want to be religious, you can be religious. But I don't think this is the religion I want to be in. So that's where we are with this part of the story. And until next time, we'll tell you the rest of the story next time. So bye for now. I gotta go.
Me do